The need to close the achievement gap for students from Boston goes beyond high school, as the Boston Globe reported. There have been struggles with progress in higher education, even for students with the most promise. One attempt to help more students reach their goal is the Higher Education Resource Center. To tell us about its work is the Executive Director, Samuel Acevedo. Thank you very much for being with us, Samuel.
It's a pleasure to be here with you, Chris. Thank you.
Samuel, you were several years ahead of the Boston Globe in figuring out what was going on with students trying to make that leap from high school to higher education. So how did that guide you in getting this organization started?
Well, it begins with the fact that most of the people who work at the Higher Education Resource Center were almost all first generation ourselves, Chris. So in the first years, Boston HURC's been around for 20 years. I'm its founding executive director. We were seeing back in 1999 when we launched, the big mission was, let's get only 1 in 4 Black and Latino kids are enrolling in college. Enroll. Well, we did that. We were sending kids into college. And then within the first year of their enrolling, or even the first semester, by Christmas, they were boomeranging back to Roxbury and to Dorchester. And we were wondering, what's going on here? Because we're talking about not our struggling students. These were our poster children, our best and our brightest, or the kids that we were bragging about. And then we said, well, come on, what's happening with them is the same thing that happened with us. We weren't ready. None of us are when we go to college from a home where no one in our household has gone to college.
So I know a lot of people are not ready totally, but go back to your own story. How did you get at least ready enough to make the leap?
That's the thing, Chris. First of all, it took someone to come into my life. So I was very lucky to have teachers and mentors, a debate teacher in high school, an American history teacher in middle school, who altered the trajectory of my life and convinced me I was college material. But even then, the only D I received in my entire college and postgraduate career was in my first semester of college. I almost failed out of college. And we saw that pattern in our own students. And we saw that pattern in our own lives. And we asked ourselves, what's going on? We got the SAT scores. We put together the financial aid package. We sent the application in the mail. We showed up at class and said, present. It's not that our kids aren't smart. The college completion dilemma isn't a question of whether or not our Black and Latino first generation students are smart. They're getting into college. They're just not completing. Why aren't they? And we came to the conclusion is that they are missing, and we were missing, what John Dewey 100 years ago called the habits of the mind. Things that you take for granted when you grow up in a household with parents who've been to college, and they know how to, they know how to manage their time and manage their relationships. And they have, you catch project management skills. These things are caught, not taught. They're not in the curriculum in high schools because our high schools are lucky enough to get them to graduate and go on to college. Colleges, assume you have these before you get there, and you're not picking it up at home. So where is this supposed to happen? What we do is we connect first generation BPS high school students with first generation coaches who have been through the same confronted the same sort of challenges their students have, except they're their future selves. 4 years down the road, this is us, and you can survive and excel in college just as I do. That's the message we try to share with our students. It's never gotten harder to share that message than now.
Right.
If we're not lucky, COVID-19 could turn into an extinction event for a generation of first generation high school students. But we're doing our power to prevent that.
Yeah, I mean, I got to ask you about what it's like now with COVID-19, because the great thing about coaches is not that they're really original with their game plans, but they're there in your face in person. You can't do it that way now. So how are you doing it exactly?
That's a great question. So that's a multi-pronged approach. First of all, when when we saw, on what we're calling Black Friday, the 13th of March, when they announced, when BPS and the mayor announced schools are closing on Tuesday, we went, we spent that weekend developing a remote learning platform with two major objectives in mind. Number one, remaining connected with our students in our schools, and number two, remaining connected with each other. So by March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, the day that schools closed until recently, we were ready with a plan to connect with our students via Zoom, via multi-pronged text platforms like Signalvine. We developed workshops online where students from not just our, so most of our coaches are connected to cohorts. What we discovered was that COVID-19 actually blew the walls of our schools. We were now able to connect with multiple cohorts of our students across school lines. So in a single, in a single college access workshop on, say, financial aid, or writing a powerful college essay, or doing college in your PJs, we could combine cohorts of students from Brighton High School and the Burke High School and Charlestown High School and English High School. We're actually serving a network of 10 Boston Public School high schools this fall. And we're also offering our spaces now as a learning hub. We're very lucky to have a very spacious office and learning complex in the South End. So in collaboration with the Boston Public Schools, we're also offering, COVID-safe spaces for students who are struggling with online learning to come down and stay connected with their students and with their teachers and with their education.
I want to ask you about the needs for spaces like that, because it's hard enough for college students at Harvard and MIT who are in dorms, but when you've got commuting students in Boston, they don't have a dorm, they don't have a college internet connection. It must be pretty rough for them to do work remotely.
It is horrible, and it's worse than that. It's worse than that. Imagine trying to do college in a two-bedroom apartment, if that, in East Boston or Dorchester, with 6 or 7 or even 8 or 9 family members, including people sleeping on the couch, and all that activity happening behind you. And your study hall is, like right now, your kitchen table and a computer. How are you even the most gifted student would have a horrible time focusing and channeling out those distractions. It's one of the things that inspired us to, we had planned already, Chris, to develop an alumni success platform in order to ensure that the habits of mind that we instill in students once they go into college, that we have a set of coaches and mentors there to reinforce these habits of mind with our students once they go into college. What COVID-19 did is it forced us to advance we plan to have launched that now in the fall. With COVID-19, we launched that program last spring with the idea of remaining connected with our alumni, the students leaving, these first generation students leaving high schools, to make sure that they're not victims of what college advisors call the summer melt, to make sure that they make it, whether it's online or in person. Now everything's online this fall, and to make, because if you're not enrolled, you're not going to complete college. We're doing that, by the way, as part of a vast network. Boston's very lucky. The Boston Higher Education Resource Center shares this mission with really fabulous organizations like Bottom Line and You Aspire and College Access Corps. What we do is we provide that critical relationship between between peers, basically other first generation coaches, and these high school students and their families, to make sure that these students are not a victim and do not grow extinct as a part of consequence of this terrible virus.
I know our main focus is the students, but tell me something about the coaches, the walks of life that they're from, or what prompted them to pitch in with your organization?
Oh, I have the best job in the world, Chris. First of all, most of these coaches, they are, first of all, demographically, it's a beautiful, diverse community. We have Latino and Latina coaches, coaches who are white but come from, first generation household, Asian coaches, Black, Haitian coaches. What brings them up, some of them are fresh out of college, where they've done, a lot of youth work and youth mentoring while in college, or a supplement to college. Others have had, we have one coach who's actually coming to us after a year of working in a supervisory role with mass mentoring partnerships. We have another coach who traded a career. He was actually, online to become an area director for the YMCA. And he thought, well, no, that's just going to, I'm just going to be too distant from the kids I want to serve. And these coaches, what they all have in mind, what they all have in common, rather, is one, our shared history together. The story that I'm telling you now is the story that we all share, having been first generation ourselves. And number two, that mission. They could probably make a bit more money somewhere else, and do other things somewhere else. But they're doing this out of just the pure love, the mission of seeing students who are a mirror image of themselves succeed.
Finally, Sam, if any students are looking for help, or if anybody wants to pitch in as a coach, is there somewhere they can get in touch with the organization?
Yes, absolutely. So you can reach us at our website, which is www.bostonherc.org, www.bostonherc.org. You could email me. That's Acevedo, SACEVEDO, at bostonherc.org. Or call us. We're at 617-442-5608.
Thank you very much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you, Chris. You have a great day.
Yes, you too. That was Samuel Acevedo from the Higher Education Resource Center. We'll have more news in just a moment.